Here I lie, the strong bull, pleasing of birth, the one of perfect laws, who wears the crown and pleases the gods, Lord of all, now dead. After bearing witness to only 18 floodings of the life-giving sacred waters of the Nile, I am laid to rest in my tomb with the objects that I will need most in the afterlife, my favorite foods, perfumes, weapons of war, and of course, my golden death mask, an everlasting and eternal tribute to my power. For I am a perfect image of humanity, strong, powerful, the savior of Egypt, Pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, living God. I am Tutankhamun, but that is not the name by which I was always known. No, it pains me to admit that my father, the Pharaoh Akhenaten, and his sister wife first named me Tutankhaten, living image of the god Aten. My father was a heretic, and above all, a fool. He threw Egypt into great turmoil and distress when he forswore the ancient gods who had guided us since creation, and declared that Aten, the golden disk of the sun, was the true chief deity, and even moved the capital from Thebes to the new city of Akhenaten. My father was judged harshly for his crimes against the gods. Following his death, the cult of Aten diminished. His capital city was abandoned. The temples and monuments he built for his god were torn down. His face was chiseled off of his statues, and his name was erased from the official list of kings, ensuring that his memory would die with him. In the eyes of Egypt, the people, and the gods, my father faced a fate even worse than death. He ceased to exist. I ascended to the throne while I was still a boy, but let there be no doubt that I was always in charge. My advisors may have attempted to take advantage of my youth, but when you are a living incarnation of a god, there is no question who ultimately rules. I immediately took to restoring Egypt to its past glory, fixing the mistakes of my father who had allowed our kingdom to languish as he pursued his blasphemous goals. My first and most important duty was to reject the sun god Aten. For too long, the old gods had been neglected and ceased to hear our prayers. From here on, I would no longer bear the name my father gave me, but be born anew as Tutankhamun, the living image of the true god. I set about the restoration of the old pantheon, Horus, Isis, and of course, my namesake Amun, who would again be worshipped as the chief deities of Egypt and bestow us once more with their blessings. I built temples and monuments dedicated to them, moved our capital back to the sacred city of Thebes, reinstated their holy festivals, reestablished their cults, and brought their divine favor back to Egypt. I would be remembered throughout eternity as the king who spent his life in fashioning images of the gods. Though pious, I was far from meek. While much of my time was dedicated to bringing the gods back to Egypt, I also sought to bring Egypt's military back to its former might. I led my army full of the world's finest archers and charioteers to victory in many battles, where my peerless skill with the bow was put on display for all to see as we slew countless of the neighboring Nubians. Alas, not every chapter of my life was such a resounding success. Neither of the children I bore survived childbirth. Perhaps the gods did not favor my sister wife, Ankhenaten, as they did me. As is our tradition, their bodies were mummified and they would be placed with me in my own tomb, so that we may all live together in the afterlife. My own life was also cut tragically short. Perhaps the gods needed me more in the Dua, the land of the dead, than they did on this mortal plane. But at least I was able to die doing what I loved most in the world, hunting the sacred animals of the Nile. I faced off against an incarnation of the chaos god himself, Seth, here taking the form of an enraged hippopotamus. I crept through the reeds, readying my powerful bow to strike, when suddenly it charged at me, and despite my martial prowess, I was gravely wounded, my leg mangled by the beast. I was rushed back to my palace, but it was too late. The wound festered, and soon I would return to the realm beyond this life and take my place among the gods. The pharaoh, as well as the entire kingdom's most important task in life, is to make certain that the king has a proper tomb to ensure his successful journey from this world to the next. Though my untimely death meant that the process must be accelerated, my tomb was still given all of the finest trappings of the land, and no expense was spared by the people to leave no doubt that their glorious and loved king would face no troubles on his journey to the underworld. As a living embodiment of a god who led his people to a glorious new age, my tomb and my legacy will last 1,000 floodings of the Nile. Generation after generation will read my name in the list of pharaohs and look upon my face at the monumental temples built to celebrate my magnificence. Unlike my father, who was erased from the annals of our history, I have achieved the greatest glory possible for a pharaoh. I have become eternal. My name will live on forever throughout the ages, and all will know me, for I am Tutankhamun.